So, am I audible to everyone? Hello?
Yes,
Okay. So welcome to today's class, and we will be learning types of function in Python. In yesterday's class, we already covered types of functions based on argument and return type. Now we have types of functions. Okay, so basically, first type of function is user-defined function. So, what are user-defined functions? So user-defined functions are those functions which we define in our program. Okay. So suppose that we are creating a function to solve greeting. So we will create a functions to solve greeting message, and we are creating the message. We are creating the method by defining def solve greeting, and then we are printing welcome to read my course. So this is a user-defined function. We are defining this method, so that's why they are called as user-defined functions. And second type of functions is built-in function. So built-in functions are those functions which are defined by Python Software Foundation. Means they have been created uh, by Python itself, and you don't need to define them. You just need to use them. So some of the example of built-in functions are print. I think all of you practiced a lot on print function, and print does basically what? When you pass something inside the print, it will print that value on the screen. Similarly, we have len function. Len is also a built-in function. We use len function to calculate the length of any array. Let's suppose that we have a list, and by len function we can calculate the length of the list. Similarly, by len function we can calculate the length of string. We can calculate the length of dictionary, length of tuple. So len is a very useful function. We can calculate the length of any type of series or sequences in Python. And next is sum. So you can use sum function to calculate any calculate the sum of data present in any sequence in Python. So these three are basically some examples of built-in functions in Python. So is it clear to everyone? So I think you should reply. Okay, then and only then I will understand that you are getting this. So is it clear to everyone? So we have basically, I told you that we have two types of function based on declaration. That we have user-defined functions that is defined by us, and second type is built-in function that is defined by Python. Or that is already defined by Python, and we need to use them. So these are two types of function. Now third type is recursive functions. So recursive functions are those functions that is used to that calls itself during the execution. So recursive functions are those functions that calls itself. So I told you all, in previous class that we have two parts in function. First is we define function, and second is calling the function. So you can we can say that in the recursive function calls itself. So in the body of the function we will be calling the same method. That's why it is called as recursive function. I will give you the examples of recursive functions in in next slide. And second is methods. So I previously also told you that functions are also called as methods, but not always. Methods are something different, and we only call a function method when it is defined in a class, or this function is a part of class. So what is class? I will teach you in I think from next week. So just understand, methods are those functions that is defined inside a class. So that's why they are called as methods of class, so or methods of object. So, and next is, okay, and next is lambda functions or anonymous functions. So lambda functions are those functions basically which are written in a single line. So I will give you the example of lambda functions. Just understand what are lambda functions. They are basically functions that is written as a expression. So you can see that in this is not a lambda function, and this is not a lambda function, and you can see that it is defined in two lines, but lambda function will be defined in a single line. So you can differentiate between two functions, either it is lambda functions or not, by checking that it is written in a single. If it is written in a single line, then it will be a lambda function, and if it is not written in a single line, then it will be not as it will be not an lambda function. So give me 1 minute, please. Actually, there are lots of noise. So sorry everyone. And this is lambda function, anonymous function. And so I will give you the example of lambda function or anonymous function. And first I am covering built-in functions in Python. So I'm really very sorry for this noise. First is built-in function in Python. So these are basically some example of built-in function. First is len. Len is basically used to calculate the length of the object. Suppose that now I'm giving you the example of. So first built-in function is len. Suppose that we have a list one, and it has values 1, 2, and 3, and we are print len of list one. So it is printing what? 3. And you can see that we never defined this function. So this is a built-in function, and it is used to calculate the length of the any type of length of object. So this is a list, and we are using this len method to calculate the length of this list. So Second, this len function can also be used for calculate the length of tuple also. Suppose that we have a tuple example. Tuple example is, so suppose that we have tuple and we have elements 1, 2, 3, 4 in the tuple, and we are using len function to calculate the length of the tuple. So it will print what? 4, because we have four four members in this tuple. So this len is a built-in function. Similarly, we have int. I already told you that int is used to convert data types into integer, and similarly we have float. Float converts data type into float, and set converts the data type into set, and list converts the data type into list, and tuple converts the data type into tuple, and we have print. I think you all of you have already already used print lots of times. So prints does what? Prints something on the screen. And we have range a to b. Range a to b does what? It generates value between a to b minus 1. So so these are built-in functions, and I will share this slide. You can use this built-in function. So I am just moving to the recursive function. So what are recursive functions? So I told you that recursive functions are those functions which are basically which calls itself. So in recursive functions we have an important thing, that is base case. So base case is what? Base case is one critical requirement for recursive function. So what is base case? I will explain this later. Suppose that we have a recursive function, okay, and this is a recursive function. You can see that we have example of a recursive function, and we are defining these recursive functions by def get sum of series, and if n is equal to 0 or n is equal to 1, return 1, else return n plus get sum of series n minus 1. So uh, so you can call that you can see that we this is a function, and this is the body of the function. So in this body you can see that we are calling the function. So we are calling the same function. So this, the name of this function is what? Get sum of three. And we are calling this same method inside the body of this function. So that's why this is called as a recursive function. And we have base case. It is important. If we don't have a base case, so then we cannot write a recursive function. So what are base case? So this is the base case. If n is equal to 0 or n is equal to 1, return 1. This is a base case. So uh, basically I wrote this program. I wrote this program to calculate the sum of series. So sum of series is what? So I'm giving you the example here. So suppose that we want to get the sum of series of 4. So what is this? This is basically 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4. So, and similarly, if we want to get the sum of series of 5, so it will be what? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So next, def So let's suppose that we want to calculate the sum of the series. So suppose that we want to calculate the sum of series of 4. So what will be the what it is equivalent of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and similarly sum of series of 5 will be equivalent of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So if we calculating the sum of series of 5, sorry, sum of series of, suppose that we have already the sum of series of 4 and we want to calculate the sum of series of 5. So what is the difference between sum of series of 4 and sum of series of 5? Only we have 5 added inside this. So we can see that, we can say that sum of series of 5 is equivalent of sum of series of 5 plus 5 plus sum of series of what? 4. Similarly, sum of series of 6 will be equivalent of what? 6 plus sum of series of what? 5. Similarly, sum of series of 7 will be equivalent of what? Answer everyone.
7 plus sum of 6.
Sum of 7 plus sum of series up to 6. So, so that's why we wrote our program like this. Def get sum of series up to n. So if n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 0, return 1. So this is a base case. I will explain what is, why we have written like this. This is base case. And we are returning what? N plus get sum of series of n minus 1. You can see that when we are calculating the sum of series up to 7, so we are writing here what? Suppose that we have n is equivalent of 7. So we are writing 7 plus get sum of series 7 minus 1. So that's why we retain this program like this. Now you can see that sum of series of 1 is equal to what? 1. Clear to everyone? Sum of series up to 1 is equivalent of what? 1. So we want some base case to exit from the function. Suppose that we don't have this base case. So what will happen? Suppose that we don't have this base case. So what will happen? This program will never end. First, if you will pass 6 here, so that it will convert it to 5 plus get sum of 5. No, suppose that we are passing here 5, so it will be converted to 5 plus get sum of 5 minus 1, 4. So 5 plus get sum of series 4. Next it will be converted to, next it will be converted to 4 plus get sum of series of 3. Next it will be converted to 2 plus get sum of series of 1. But it will never end. Okay, so to end the program, we need to write base case. So that's why we wrote here base case. If we reach up to n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 0, return 1, because we know that sum of series of 1 is equivalent of 1. That's why we need to write here. So if anytime you define a recursive function, we need to have a, always we need to have a base case. So without base case, we cannot define a recursive function. So this is a base case. So run this program. Okay, now we need to calculate. So suppose that we are checking some test cases. So sum of series of 2 is equal to what? 1 plus 2. So it is equivalent of what? 3. Similarly, sum of series up to 3 is equivalent of what? 1 plus 2 plus 3. So it is equivalent of what? 6. Similarly, sum of series up to 4 is equivalent of what? 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, which is equivalent of 1 plus 2, 3, 6,
10.
10. So when we pass 1 in our program, so it should give the output 1. When we should pass 2 in our program, it should give the output 3. So suppose that we are passing here, get sum of series 1. So it will give you what? 1. Similarly, pass 2 in this program, it should give you what? For 2, it should give you what? 3. So run the program. So it is giving you 3. Similarly, uh, when we pass 3, it should give 6. Okay, we are passing here 3, so it is giving us 6. Similarly, when we pass 4, it should give us what? 10. So our program is right. So suppose that I want to give you the example of recursive one more recursive function. Suppose that we want to calculate the series multiplication. So suppose that we want to calculate the factorial. Okay, to calculate the factorial, write the program. So simply program to calculate factorial. So to calculate the factorial, we know that 4 factorial is equivalent of what? 4 star, 3 star, 2 star, 1. Similarly, 3 factorial is equivalent of what? 3 star, 2 star, and 1. Similarly, 2 factorial is equivalent of what? 2 star, 1, and 1 factorial is equivalent of 1. So we will have base case 1. In the case of 1, we will be returning 1. And is this program clear to everyone? What we need to do you know it? Everyone, I think everyone knows factorial already. If I think it was in class 10 or ninth. So we are writing program to calculate the factorial. So it is clear to everyone what is factorial?
Yes,
Okay. So if we have 5 factorial, so it will be equivalent of 5 star, 3 star, 2 star, 1. That will be equivalent of what? 5 star, 4 factorial. And similarly, 4 factorial will be equivalent of what? 4 star, 3 factorial. Is this clear? Because you can see that 4 factorial value is what? 4 star, 3 star, 2 star, 1. And 5 factorial value is what? 5 star, 4 star, 3 star, 2 star, 1. So, uh, so when we write the program for for n factorial, so n factorial will be equivalent of what? N star n minus 1 factorial. And base case will be what? We know that 1 factorial is 1, so we will write base case. Base case will be what? 1 factorial is 1. So this is base case, and this is our factorial case. So write our program def calculate factorial. So calculate factorial, and we pass n here, and we will return here what? Return n star calculate factorial n minus 1. Now what will be our base case when we have n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 0? Then return 1. Why? We know that 1 factorial value is 1. So when we have n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 0, return 1. So now you can see that value of 1 factorial is 1 and value of 2 factorial is equal to what? 2, and value of 3 factorial is what? 6, and value of 4 factorial is what? 12, and value of 5 factorial is what? Not 12, it's 24. So and similarly value of 5 factorial is 24 star 5, it should be 120, I think. So so this program is dev calculate factorial. Uh, we are now we have base case if n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 0, return 1, and if base case is not achieved, we will be returning n star calculate factorial n minus 1. So call this program. So calculate factorial 1. So factorial of 1 should be what? Answer it. I think all of you know factorial of
One,
calculate
one,
factorial 1. So
one.
it's okay. What it is telling me. And okay, we need to write here it. So now call this. So calculate factorial. Okay, we missed here L. Okay, so calculate factorial 1 will result 1, and similarly when we write calculate factorial 2, it should give us what? 2. So it is giving us 2. Similarly calculate factorial 3, it should give us what? 6. So it is giving us 6. Similarly calculate factorial 4, it should give us what? 24. So it is giving us 24. I think it is clear to everyone. In factorial we have basically a factorial recursive case, and second is base case. So is this clear to everyone what is base case? I given you two examples. So it was clear to everyone. Now you can define base case by yourself. So
Sir,
yeah,
please again repeat base.
so base case is nothing. So simply understand base case. The base case is a case in which we knows the value of our recursive function. So suppose that if we are calculating the factorial, then we know that value of 1 factorial will be what? 1. So this is a base case. So we will write inside our function if n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 0, then return 1. Means we know that calculate factorial of 1 will be 1. So we are returning in this case 1. So I am giving you the example of how this program will be evaluated. So suppose that we are writing calculate factorial 4. So see that what will happen in program. It will first pass n is equal to 4, and it will check if n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 0. So we are passing 4, so 4 is not equivalent. So it will calculate what? 4 is equal to 1 or 4 is equal to 0. So this is what? This is equivalent of what? False, because 4 is not equivalent of 1. So this condition will be not true. So it will return what? N star calculate factorial n minus 1. So we are passing n is equal to 4. So it will return what? It will return us 4 star calculate factorial 4 minus 1. So it will be 3. It will return us what? 4 star calculate factorial 3. So it is equivalent of what? 4 star calculate factorial 3. Now similarly calculate factorial 3 will be evaluated. So calculate factorial 3, we will pass 3 in this function. Again this value will check what is, it will check 3 is equal to 1 or 3 is equal to 0. So this condition will be not true. So it will be what? It will be false. So it will return us what? N star calculate factorial n minus 1. So it will return us what? 3 star calculate factorial what? Calculate factorial what?
2.
2. So now the value of this is equivalent of this. So we can write here it is equivalent of 4 star. So calculate factorial of 3 is equivalent of 3 star calculate factorial of. So we are writing here 4 star 3 star calculate factorial 2. Similarly, we will get what? 4 star 3 star 2 star what?
1.
Calculate factorial of 1. Now when we pass 1 in this method, so this condition will be true if n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 0. So this condition will be true and we will return 1. So so when we return from the function, so the execution of that function will stop. So we will not go into this line, we will return from this line and we will return what? 1. So this value will be what? So this value will be equivalent of what? 1. So this value is equivalent of 1. So we will write it is equivalent of 4 star 3 star 2 star 1. Is this clear to everyone how the program flows in the case of recursive function? So if it is not clear to you, then I think you should practice on recursive function. There are lots of program where you in which you can practice uh, you can practice recursive function. Some of I've given you 2 examples. Similarly, you can write. Suppose that I'm writing a program to calculate sum of all the odd numbers from 1 to n. So we are writing a program to calculate the sum of all the odd numbers from 1 to n. So this program can be written using recursive function. Similarly, we can write a program to calculate the sum of all the even numbers from 1 to n. So you can write program to calculate the sum of the odd numbers from 1 to n, and program to calculate the sum of all the even numbers from 1 to n. So this will be done by recursive function. It is not necessary that you use recursive function here, but you can use recursive function here. program can be done by another methods by loops. Also, we can write this program by using while loop or by using for loop. We can write this program, but we can also use recursive function here. So I am giving you this program. I want you to practice and give me the answer in tomorrow's class. You need to write program to calculate the sum of all the odd numbers from 1 to n, and program to calculate the sum of all the even numbers from 1 to n. So what will be base case here? So base case will be here what? We know that first even number is what? In the case of suppose that this is our first program and this is our second program. In this first case, base case will be base case will be what? If n is equal to 1. So why n is 1 is a odd number. So if n is equal to 1, so return what? 1. Similarly, in second case, if n is equal to 2, so it should return what? 2, because first even number is what? First even number is 2, or you can also write 0. So in our case, suppose that we are assuming that 2 is the first 2 is the first even number, and if we reach up to 2, then we need to return here 2. So these will be base case. Now I'm showing you one more interesting thing. Suppose that we have a program calculate factorial. Okay, so we have calculate factorial program, and we wrote here base case if n is equal to 1 or n is equal to 0, return 1. But you can also write here if n is equal to 2. If n is equal to 2, what was the value of 2 factorial? 2. So if n is equal to 2, you can return 2. So this condition is also true. Simply base case is something that case where we knows the value of our factorial. So it is not necessary that you always write up to 1 in the in this case. We knows the value of 2 factorial, it is 2, so we can write our program like this. So run this program. Suppose that we are calculating the value of 6 factorial. Suppose that we are calculating the value of 5 factorial. So value of 5 factorial was what? 120. So cal it should return what? 120. Similarly, you can write the base case like this. If n is equal to 3, we know the value of 3 factorial. So what is the value of 3 factorial? 6. So we can write here also if n is equal to 3, return 6. So this is also the similar program. It will give a same result 122. Run this program. So it is giving us what? 120. So don't confuse with base case. Base case is simply that case where we know the value of our recursive function. Is this clear to everyone? Uh, is this clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
No, base case is clear to everyone. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me, or next we will move to the lambda function. So if you have any doubt, you can ask. So suppose that we are Now next topic is lambda function. First of all, I want to ask you one question. In yesterday's class, I told you that you need to practice on HackerRank. So all of you are practicing on HackerRank or not?
Yes, sir.
Practicing. So how many programs have you submitted on HackerRank? Please tell me how many programs you have submitted on HackerRank, or you are facing any difficulty. Please tell me, uh, because programming is something that you cannot understand without practicing. So this is very different from science and maths. Okay, here basically there is very less there there is very less definitions and logics. Basically we only need to practice, and how much you will practice, you means you need to practice lots on in the case of programming, to become a good programmer. So I hope you all practice. So just I want to ask from you, how many of you are practicing? So I'm asking one from one. So first is Sivanesan. So Sivanesan, are you practicing on HackerRank or any of the platform?
Yes, sir, I'm practicing
What? Oh, okay, I think your voice is not coming clear. So for second is Pooja, are you practicing?
Sir, I didn't attended the last class, sir. I was busy.
Okay, no problem. So you need to create an account on HackerRank, and you need to start practicing on Python. So if you need any support from my side, I will help you, but you need to practice. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And next is Aarti Charya. Are you practicing? Hello, Aarti.
Hello.
Yeah, Aarti, are you practicing?
No, sir. Sir,
So
actually, I create account yesterday.
okay, so I am visiting HackerRank. So how? Okay, this is Hacker. We need to go to HackerRank, and uh, when you go to the practice section, skills available for practice. So you need to go to the Python, and you need to select here difficulty level easy. Okay, and start practicing on these questions. So if you face any doubt here, you can ask me. So next is Amarjit. Are you practicing?
Yes, started.
Okay. So Nagesh, are you practicing?
Yes, sir. Today I started.
Okay. Then this is Nandu. Are you practicing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then next is Charu. Charu, are you started? I created an account on HackerRank. So okay, I think my voice is not coming. So this is Yaksika. Yaksika, are you started practicing on HackerRank?
No, sir, I have created my account but not started, sir.
So have you seen how to go to the HackerRank and how to choose the Python program?
Sir, I can't understand, sir.
Actually, I given a demo how to go to the HackerRank and solve Python programs. So, will you? So, now is it will be easy for you to practice on HackerRank, or you face any doubt, or you
Sir, I
face
have
any issue?
not yet started to practicing, sir. If there are any doubt, I'll contact you, sir.
Okay, okay. So next is Adarsh Kumar Gupta. So others are started practicing.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Okay, then this is yeah, and this is Jatin. So or Jatin, you started practicing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I hope all of you should practice, and without practicing, it will be difficult for understanding next classes. So start practicing. So now we have lambda function. So what are lambda functions? I told you that lambda functions are expressions and they are written in a single line. So it is also called as small anonymous function. So lambda function is called as what? Called as what? Anonymous function. And a lambda function can take any number of arguments but can only have one expression. What it is telling you that a lambda function can take any number of arguments but can only have one expression. So this is the example of a lambda function. We write lambda keyword here instead of def. Okay. So in the case of simple functions, we write def, but in the case of lambda functions, we write here lambda. And we need to pass arguments, and then we have body. So you can see that in case of lambda functions, the body will be a single expression. So it will be in a single line. So suppose that I'm giving you the example. We have x is equal to, we are storing this lambda function inside a variable x. So x is equal to lambda and a. What is a? This is argument, and it is, and this is syntax colon, and then it is returning us what? A plus 10. So when you will print x 5, so it will print 15. Similarly, x is equal to lambda ab, and we are returning a star b. So it will return what? 30. So we are doing what? We are passing a and b argument, and we are returning a star b. So when we pass 5, 6, so it will give us 5 star 6, which is equivalent of 30. So this is basically lambda function, and we use lambda function in special cases. So I will give the example of use of lambda function in next class. Now let's suppose practice on lambda function. Suppose that we have here x is equal to lambda, and we are passing here a and a plus 10. So this was our first program, and return print x of, suppose that we are passing 1 here, so it will return us 11. So how this program is evaluated? First, we are to define a lambda function. We need to use lambda keyword. So lambda and a is argument, and it is returning us what? A plus 10. So this program is nothing but equivalent of def. Suppose that we are writing here x and a and return a plus 10. So this program is equivalent of this. Now you can see that this same program can be written in a single line. So lambda functions are used for a special purpose where we need to define function in a single line. So in that case, we use lambda function, and it is nothing but equivalent of this. So similarly, suppose that we are writing some calculate area. So in the case of calculate area, we are defining lambda, and we are passing here a and b, and it should does what? A star b. It should return a star b. Now calculate area, call this function. So I am calling this function calculate area, and we are passing here 2, 3. So it should return us what? Return us what? 6. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
So lambda function is nothing but those function which is written in single line as a single expression. So those type of functions are lambda functions, and we use lambda function for special purpose. Okay, so uh, in next class we will practice on lambda function, and I think okay, so one more part is remaining. I want to
Sir, please share the video which compiler you are using.
okay. I will share
Sir, a
the
hackathon video also, demo video.
what?
Hackathon demo video.
Okay. Yeah, I will say. So one point was missing in function. So I want to explain that also. Suppose that we are writing a program calculate area. If calculate area. So this program is to show you default arguments. Default arguments. So what are default arguments? Default arguments, I told you that in function we have arguments. So here in case of this aj argument, now similarly in this case n is a argument, and now suppose that we are writing a function, we passing here a b, and we are writing c is equal to 1. So now print a plus b plus c. So what are default arguments? So default arguments are written like this. So this is a default arguments, and we have a default value of c is equal to 1. If you not pass value of c, it will be assumed as 1. Otherwise, if you pass the value of c, it will be equivalent to that value. Suppose that we are calling this function. So calculate area, and we are passing here 1 and 2 only. So a will 1 will be assigned to a, 2 will be assigned to b, but we are not passing value for c. So c will be taken as 1 because default value of c is 1. So it will print us what? A plus b plus c. So 1 plus 2 plus 1. So it will print us 4. So it is printing us 4. But if you pass the value of c, so now the value of c will be not 1, it will be 4. So run this program. It will return us 4 plus 2 plus 1 will be what? 4 plus 2, 6 plus 1, 7. So it will return us 7. Is this clear to everyone? Default arguments?
Yes, sir.
So it is also called as default parameter. So what is difference between arguments and parameters? There is nothing difference between parameters. Parameters are basically these a, b, and c are called as parameters.
Yes,
And
sir.
arguments are values that we pass inside this. Means arguments are values that we use for parameters. So what is difference between parameters? So parameters are these ABC, means variables that function need to be passed, and arguments are those values that we pass for the parameter. It is clear to everyone what is the difference between parameters and arguments? So if you will take the example of this, so 1 and 2, 1, 2, 4 are arguments, and A, B, C. A, B, and C are what? Parameters. Is this clear to everyone? Hello? Is this clear to
Yes,
everyone?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I am closing today's session, and if you have any doubt, you can ask me. I will share the video. Okay, but practice on HackerRank.
Yes,
So
sir.
thank you everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.